Welcome to the second episode of Advance Rhode Island with me, Lieutenant Governor Dan McKee. Advance Rhode Island is a monthly TV show that focuses on our three major issues that we're working on in our office, in the Lieutenant Governor's office. One is really advocating for small business. And the second is working as hard as we can to create excellence in our public schools. And third is to help municipal leaders create the efficiencies in their communities so that we all can afford to live there. Each month we will bring in guests that will be able to speak to those three main issues which I just said, which was the small business, the public education, and municipal efficiencies. Last show we had 6 diner owners that I visited on my 39 Cups of Coffee tour, where I visited each community in the state of Rhode Island, sat down with the business owners, the municipal leaders, and people who are community leaders to kind of get an idea of what was happening in every community in the state. And we've done that. And this past week we had our last cup of coffee on Block Island, where we met Bethany and her at Bethany's Diner. And we also visited North Light Fibers, which is the only manufacturing company on Block Island that creates wool and yarn right from the animals that they raise on their grounds. And also I've been in Warren and I've been in Pawtucket, and I've seen that we're moving in the right direction for young people in the state of Rhode Island. Rhode Island is building a place for young people to succeed. And last week when I was in Warren, they were just recognized as one of the great places in America to live. And that's very encouraging for us, and it certainly gives us, the young people in our state, an area where they can really kind of anchor themselves and be proud to be from Rhode Island. I was in Pawtucket last week, in Pawtucket Center Falls, where they announced this train station, a $40 million investment that's going to link our state with Boston Market and vice versa. And again, it's going to provide that public transportation that young people want to see. So we're here today. That's what brings us to the point why we're here today, and we're here to tell the other side of the story about. We've all heard the stories about a mass exodus of young people out of our state. What I've been around in my 39 cups of coffee, I found that that's not the case. And today we're here to tell the other side of that story with our guest. And joining me here are 6 millennials who chose to stay and invest in Rhode Island. They're here to share their stories and tell us why they chose Rhode Island. First, I want to go to Travis Escobar. And Travis is a co-founder of Millennial Professional Group of Rhode Island. Travis, can you just introduce yourself and just tell us what a millennial is? First of all, let's kind of establish what that is, and in your own words, let us know, and then also let us know why you helped start a professional millennial group in the state of Rhode Island.
Yeah, thank you, Lieutenant Governor, for focusing on this issue, having us all on your show. For the Millennial Professional Group of Rhode Island, millennials in general are 1980 to 2000. That's what the framework that we focus on. There's some academic papers that focus on either 1982 to 1995, but in general we focus on 1980 to 2000. And generally why we started the organization is we really want to advocate to state leaders, to business owners, that we need to invest in the next generation. Millennials are the most diverse generation. We're the largest voting bloc now. We have an entrepreneurial spirit, as is going to be shown and demonstrated today. So we wanted to create an organization that was definitely a intergenerational organization that was definitely going to bring people together and promote a positive image of the state. It's a nonprofit organization. It's been going around for a year. We have over 150 members, paid members, and we've been able to be part of advocacy work such as the Ocean State Grad Grant, which helps recent college graduates purchase a home in within their first 3 years of graduating college. The Wavemaker Fellowship Program, which helps out STEM students repay their student loan debt, along with doing a lot of fun and cool and interesting activities.
I appreciated the invitations. I've been to a couple of those events and sat down with young people and from all different walks of life and virtually around the state, right? That's involved in your group. Travis?
Yeah, so it's been a really great energy for a lot of events to really promote just a positive image of Rhode Island. And we definitely like to share to our members, like, hey, like you can have, there's opportunity here in the state. You don't have to go elsewhere. So definitely making those connections, having mentor members has definitely been beneficial.
Well, thanks for being here today, and it's really good because you represent a large group of people that are represented in this room today, right? So what we've asked is some young entrepreneurs to come and tell their story. And we're going to ask 3 questions basically today. You know, why did you anchor in Rhode Island? You know, why are you making that investment in Rhode Island? And also next, kind of what are the challenges not only do you have, but what do you feel the young people would have in terms of entering into a business area? And then finally, what are the things that local communities can do and state government can do, and it's just in general in organizations like Travis, what can they do to help the business? So I wanted to start here with Nicole, and Nicole is from Crook Brewery.
So
Yes.
I own Crooked Current Brewery.
Yes, Crooked, yeah.
Located at 560 Mineral Spring Ave in
Yeah.
Pawtucket. I just entered my 3rd year of business, open to the public, and I chose to anchor in Rhode Island because this is where myself and my entire family were born and bred. I did spend some time at URI before ultimately moving to New York City, where I did ultimately graduate from John Jay College before immediately returning here to my roots in Rhode Island.
Yeah, we're going to hear that story a little over. People who've gone out of state and they come back, right? And we're also going to hear about people who have come in from out of state and stayed here. So thank you for being here. John, tell us a little bit about your business down in North Kingstown.
So my name is John Parati. I'm the proud owner of Mobility Equipment Recyclers, which is at 6802 Post Road in North Kingstown. Basically what we do is we recycle durable medical equipment. This equipment ranges anywhere from power wheelchairs to scooters, hospital beds, patient lifts, basically assistive medical devices. So we take this equipment in, we turn around, refurbish it, and provide it to people who are either having a tough time affording it, they get denied by insurance, whatever it might be, at 50 to 90% off the original cost. So, you know, with that being said, I thought, you know, what better place than do it in my home state of Rhode Island, you know, where I grew up. I went to Ithaca College, upstate New York, and you know, besides the fact that it was absolutely freezing up there, you know, and
Yes.
you know, it's dreadfully cold, but you know, Rhode Island's my home, and I wouldn't want to help. Well, I do want to help everybody, but I want to start here.
Yeah.
So anchoring in Rhode Island, starting my business here, Rhode Island would always be the home of Mobility Equipment Recycling.
Yeah, so we can brew, you know, beer, and we can help the people who need the wheelchairs and,
Yeah.
and that type of thing. And I had shared with you when I was visiting that I had a very good friend that spent his last 25, 30 years in a wheelchair because of a car accident, and the things you're doing to make it an affordable strategy where these people can actually
Exactly.
use these type of you know, machines, and you know the way they help them get around.
Exactly.
Thank you for doing that.
Because as you know, a lot of the elderly and the disabled, you know, they don't have a huge bankroll.
Mm.
You know, and a lot of times this equipment is very expensive, and they can't just pull out thousands of dollars out of their pocket to afford this equipment. You know, so by us taking in what would otherwise be landfill waste, or you know, sit in people's garages and their storage facilities and their basements, we take that equipment and put it into the hands of people who really need it.
Yeah, and you got
know.
several thousand square feet of
Yeah, it's a 7,000
inventory and
just-
showrooms. So I mean, that's fantastic, John.
Thank you so much.
Greg, we've spent a little time together since I've been Lieutenant Governor, and you know, you've been at a number of our meetings, and we've had lunch and discussed you know, a lot of the things that we're starting to talk about today. So share, Greg, your story, you know, coming from Ohio and the people that you're working with,
Sure.
and your business as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name's Greg Nemes. I'm co-owner of Workshop Design Studio. We're a design firm based in Providence. And we design and make things across different media, both physical and digital work. So anything from furniture and interiors up to kind of architectural scale, as well as graphic design, branding, websites, mobile apps, and software. So kind of integrated, interdisciplinary design firm. And I came to Rhode Island first in 2009 to go to RISD for grad school. And I stuck around because there's really an amazing community of creative people here. And after graduating, I joined the design office, which is a co-working space in downtown Providence. You've been up there. Yeah. There's about 20 members there. Some people are running small businesses. Some people are kind of doing their own things. A lot of us teach. I teach at RISD, as well as some of the other members there teach at RISD or at Brown. This really amazing group of people that supports each other, and we hire each other, or we pass work to each other. It's just a really great community of people that made staying here a pretty easy decision. And I think if I didn't have that really great group of people and this really amazing community, I may have gone somewhere else. So the creative economy and the creative community here are really a big part of why our business is here.
Yeah, and you opened up my eyes to this. I've always believed that there should be at least a brain drain exchange of some sort, right? So that as as Nicole goes to New York, like my son did for 10 years, and now he's back in Rhode Island. We know that there's opportunity outside of our borders, but there's a whole bunch of opportunity here. So when I met some of the people that are in your new workshop, Hawaii is here, represented here, and doing design on light shades, right? Yeah. And you had somebody from Miami, a young lady that was from Miami, that's doing. I saw some design on some picnic tables, right? So we're making things, and we're doing it not only just people from Rhode Island, but also people from out of the state. And that's why I'm visiting universities throughout the state of Rhode Island, meeting with young people, talking to the entrepreneur classes, saying, look, there's a place here, and we're using you. Everybody here today is an example of why there's opportunity here. So thank you for being here, Greg. And Tiffany, I've visited your shop, and you've also visited one of my businesses and actually worked there for a short period of time. And unknowing, when I visited your place in Lincoln about health, which was our business in the health club, but tell us a little bit about your business and why you started it there. And
yeah, sure. So I'm a co-owner of Ignite Your Life Nutrition. We're located 188 Front Street in Lincoln. And we're basically, we're pretty non-traditional, but we kind of focused on just a community aspect. We invite people in. A lot of people refer to it almost as a cheers. So everybody knows your name, but it's a healthy version. So our members come in and have a energizing green tea and a meal replacement smoothie. We do partner with Herbalife Nutrition products. But altogether, we really our members become part of our family. We become part of theirs. You get to know everybody. It's a very tight-knit group. We've got empowerment groups going on, and we've got free workout groups in the spring and in the summer, weight loss challenges. So really we're very much a word-of-mouth business, and as we start to have an impact, it becomes part of your life, and your family starts to come in, and we get to know everybody. We're kid-friendly, so just a ton of fun, really helping to bring everybody together with a focus of a healthy, active lifestyle.
Yeah, it's a great community spot, and you could tell that because a number of the people that came in while I was there, right, that I knew, and they were telling me that some really good things. And I was visited Ted Sliney next door. He's been in the paint business. He gave you 2 thumbs up, and
we got the best neighbors.
Yeah, so it's great that you're doing that work and showing an example of how. You're a young mom, right? And how that that work is there, but being an entrepreneur at the same time is leading a great example for us in the state. So thank you for being here today. And I wanted to end up this part with Rob Sullivan. Rob, actually we got connected through I think your rep from that district.
Correct.
Right? And we went down and visited you, and you told us a little bit about your story. And you have a little millennial group, a young professional group that you're meeting with on a regular basis. So share us a little bit about your business and why you're anchored here in Rhode Island.
Sure. My name's Rob Sullivan. I'm the chairman of the Southern Rhode Island Young Professionals and a landscape contractor in South County. We're stationed in Wakefield, and my business spans from North Kingstown to Westerly. I anchored in Rhode Island because I was born here. Actually, they joke and say that we're all born with an anchor and drags us back here one way or another. I personally like owning a landscape company in Rhode Island because, like we spoke about before, Rhode Island is beautiful. It's a very fertile place to own a landscape company. Grass keeps growing, trees keep growing. It's a good place to stay busy. And as to piggyback off of Greg, what he said about the community, the networks in Rhode Island, everybody seems to know each other, and it's very easy to get in with different people. And when you do a good job for somebody, they tend to refer to multiple people. To tell you the truth, I haven't paid $1 in advertising in almost 4 years, just from steady networking and just giving back to the community. I mean, I built my company's brand off of volunteering. For instance, in the last year, we redid the VFW Center in Wakefield. We do all the volunteer landscaping work for the Chamber of Commerce, as well as a lot of the community common grounds in town, from the Peacedale Rotary to some of the war memorials, and just giving back. And when people see that, they really just want to help the little guy who's doing his part.
Yeah, and that's great to hear that, because I think that's, you know, part of my background, being involved in Boys and Girls Club work. My dad started the Boys Club in our town, and we really not only anchored in our business, but we also anchored in fact, you know, that we need to really be, you know, really giving back to the community, but also we get a lot from that, right? I mean, there's certainly but so hearing that you're doing that, you know, thank you for doing, you know, and the other thing that you mentioned there, I want to echo in, did the 39 cups of coffee again and go around the state. We have a beautiful state. And regardless of where you are, as I said, with Warren or Pawtucket, Central Falls, or we're on Black Island and down in South County. So thank you for saying that, because I think our theme is, you know, discover a beautiful Rhode Island, to me, is a very good brand and a very good theme to do. So let's get on to the next kind of wave. We're kind of we're doing good on time here, but we have a couple of questions that we want to ask you. So John, you know, what are some of the challenges that you may have found, you know, being, you know, a young entrepreneur, and something, you know, maybe that's consistent with your experience, but also if you have a general thought in terms of, you know, what millennials might be facing here in the state of Rhode Island?
Well, I think being a young entrepreneur, you know, I started my business when I was 22.
Yep.
You know, and
Nice.
I didn't have all the answers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, now I'm 26, and I'm not going to tell you right now that I have all the answers. You know, so, and I remember in high school always being asked the question, or even in middle school, you know, what do you want to be when you get older? And it was always some generic answer, like a doctor, you know, firefighter, whatever it might be. But it was never, you know, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to be a business owner. You know, so when I was starting my business, you know, there was a great concept that I knew had potential, but finding the answers to which steps to take initially, you know, what insurance to get, what licensing to get, you know, what permits to get, all the different answers in between. You know, I had a little bit of struggle finding that initially, and I almost wish there was like a checklist, you know,
Yep.
1 through 15.
That was mentioned
you know.
in that Dinah show, that, you know, to have a checklist for a young entrepreneur.
Yeah, and now I know there's a lot of resources that I utilize now in Rhode Island, which are fantastic resources, you know, but when you're first starting, having more of a, you know, maybe even in high school, if they taught a class saying, you know, here's an entrepreneurship class, just in case, you know, you don't fall into the role of one of these other jobs, one of these other careers, you want to start your own career, at least you're well prepared to, you know, take it and run.
Yeah, so that's great that you're bringing those examples up, and you're not the only young entrepreneur in North Kingstown, right? I visited a body shop,
Brett,
right?
one of my very good friends.
One of your good friends and former teammates, and you know, playing a little football at the high school. So
Yep.
it's nice to see. We can't have everybody here today, but you represent a core group of people down from that area of the state. So thanks for being here, Nicole. Tell us some of the things that maybe come to mind in terms of the challenges of a young person opening a business, you know, and trying to establish themselves.
As a young business owner in Rhode Island, perhaps the biggest challenge is raising the startup capital.
Yep.
Many of us are too young to have generated a lengthy enough credit history or collect assets as collateral to provide a comfort level to banks for loan purposes. And also, I'm willing to bet that many of us are too young to have experienced the timeline necessary to have accumulated any substantial personal savings. So young entrepreneurs have to be more innovative than most when it comes to—
What did you have to do, Nicole?
long laundry list of things.
Yes.
I think we don't have enough time on this
Yeah.
show for, so in the interest of letting everybody have a few minutes,
Yes.
and just share some
Yeah.
ideas.
But that was challenging to get the
Yes.
resources. I think I'll turn the clock back several decades, and you know, I opened up my first business at around 22 as well, but I needed family, and but I also needed you know, in that time we were, you know, doing owner financing on some things, so you need some other people to help out in that way. But you know, I think you hit the nail on the head with this financing. I want to see ways that we can help young people gain access to this finance and not have to labor over that. Travis, you got some thoughts on what you're hearing in on your level in terms of challenges to kind of open up a professional business or be active like that in the state?
Yeah, for a lot of millennials in Rhode Island, it's student loan debt that definitely burdens a lot of individuals of our generation. Rhode Island ranks 4th, unfortunately, in student loan debt. Housing, 40% of Rhode Islanders are a cost burden, and there's not a lot of housing in Rhode Island to sort of fit the needs of millennials that definitely want to either like live by themselves, or it's tough for young people to purchase their first home. And there's definitely, with student loan debt, wages kind of stagnant. It's hard to create that capital of savings if you have that dream to sort of start your own business. I think what's great about Rhode Island is the word of mouth aspect that was touched upon, and the way you can sort of market your business on social media and really sort of like your brewery is wonderful. I was able to sort of like get word of mouth, go over there and experience it. So I'm really happy to sort of meet you today. Or even I think about a business like PVD Donuts that's sort of like blown out of nowhere through their Instagram campaign, and definitely also word of mouth. And also the Rhode Island media, when they touch upon a small business, they're definitely happy to promote it. So I think there are a lot of advantages of starting a business, but going back to the root causes of why a lot of young people leave, it's housing, it's student loan debt, and definitely job opportunities that need to be expanded for the state.
Yeah, well, those are all good thoughts, and we just have to sometimes just get the work done, right? We got to find ways to do that, and that's one of the reasons I invited you here today, because I do believe that it's young people like yourself that are going to drive the economy in the state of Rhode Island over the next 20, 25 years. And so, we need to come to terms with some of those issues. And hopefully, you're hearing today, and the thousands of people that are going to see this show, we're going to start to make people aware that the brain drain exchange strategy is not that bad of a one. Let's keep our young people here while they're here, and let them invest in our state. Greg, couple thoughts on challenges that you've had.
Sure. I definitely echo everything that's been said so far. Startup capital is super hard, dealing with student loan debt, cost of living, things like that. So definitely have experienced those issues. A specific example that comes up in our business, we have kind of two sides to the business, this physical side where we make physical things, and then this digital side where we're making, like a website or something like that. And we found it very hard to find a business structure and kind of legal arrangement, financial accounting arrangement, and an insurance policy that would appropriately cover all of that stuff without costing us an arm and a leg. And it does end up costing us an arm and a leg. We have 2 insurance policies, and we pay a lot of extra money to our accountant every year to deal with a kind of complicated structure of how we do things. We could have 2 separate businesses, but we would think that would be kind of antithetical to our philosophy, and it would just create all this extra overhead and complexity that we don't want. So there wasn't any structure available to us, but in some states there are business structures that would make that possible. Subsidiaries is one thing that Rhode Island doesn't have in its business structure currently. And also, I think it's maybe in Oregon, there's a sort of distributed business structure where you can have several parallel businesses linked together without an additional overhead or paying an additional tax burden, an additional sort of minimum tax every year. So, so that kind of cobbling together all these different solutions has been costly for us and complicated.
Yeah, so trying to get the bottom of that is easier said than done.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the reasons that we want to be really talking about this so that we can physically put down there. I'm a big fan of Liz Tanner at the Commerce, and she's going around. She did I think I beat her on the 39 cups. She was at 38 visits to the communities, and I was giving her, and she was saying, I'm going to beat you. But that's the type of stuff we need to bring to Liz, and so that we can list those things and find those examples of where we can be more effective in terms of the accounting. We had somebody on the Dinah show the first visit, and they were talking, I think, about payroll strategies, helping people with their first payroll, which is kind of kind of very interesting, right, and that
Yeah.
type of thing. So those are the logistics there. Those are really good nuts and bolts. Tiffany, when I was at your shop, you know, I recall you and your partner saying that there was a celebration when you finally got your certificate of occupancy.
Yes,
So
yes.
tell us a little bit of the challenges that you kind of run into as a young business owner.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be too redundant. Definitely everything we've heard here today. I know within our group, you know, especially college and student loan debt is a huge, huge thing that we're all kind of handling. But initially opening up a checklist of sorts would have been helpful. You know, I think we kind of ended up in a spot where we were waiting a couple of weeks because we couldn't move forward until one specific person came in, and then, you know, to wonder about that schedule, and people are part-time and here and there. And,
Yep.
you know, we're a much smaller business than maybe a full-blown restaurant, but we still require a health certificate. So waiting on that code of inspection and just kind of like sitting there waiting to get the full go to open the door. So we definitely had a couple weeks we were kind of hanging there, fully ready to rock, but just needed that approval. So
Yeah, and I think you're bringing a really important thing to light here is, as a business owner myself, unless you're in those shoes, you don't know how valuable that time is and how frustrating it can be. So the more we can be responsive on the government side or the permitting side without risking public safety or public health. I mean, that's an important factor too, as being a former mayor, knowing that. But what you've just outlined is a really important thing that we need to really be focused on, trying to streamline the process. Rob, your thoughts on this?
Sure. While I agree that starting a business is very tough in Rhode Island, I think a lot of the problems come once you are established. I mean, it's no secret that Rhode Island has a notorious bad business climate, from over excessive regulations to high business taxes. I mean, for instance, personally, my dream is to own a very large landscaping company. Lots of trucks, lots of bigger equipment, but having the 9th highest gas tax in the country, and especially the new truck tolls that are rolling out, it almost seems like Rhode Island doesn't have room for contractors such as myself. And it's hard to talk about the problems in Rhode Island without being political. I think we have a lot of good people at the State House, a lot of good people. I just honestly think that when it comes to business, they're not anti-business. I just think a lot of them don't know what they're doing at this point, and it's kind of shown through and through. So it really discourages bigger businesses such as GE and other ones that are kind of passing us over because of these problems. I think it also discourages people from even wanting to take the step to try to get capital to reach their dreams in this state.
Yeah, I think that's a whole show, and that's you know, that's why when we're going to be in North Kingstown and in a show in December 7th, I believe it is, and we're going to open it up to a forum. But I really would like to get you know, at a later point, specific on those things, because I'm hearing in generalities, but I'm not hearing the specific issues that create the regulation. So I know e-commerce, commerce with Liz Tanner is helping streamline the process. A community like Pawtucket right now is going to be able to do online type of work, you know, and permitting, where probably that wasn't available to you 3 years ago. There was 26 different stops I'm hearing. Now it's going to get down to 1. So there is an intentional strategy right now in the state, I think, to try to address those things, but we got to get really specific. So we've got about 1 minute left, so we're going to have to kind of finalize this thing. We're not going to be able to kind of get to the last question about how we could help, but I'll take, well, like maybe like a, Greg, do you have one thought about how we might be able to help, and then we're going to wrap this thing up?
I think doing what you're doing is great. Getting out there, talking to people, hearing the issues, getting people talking to each other, connecting people. I think that's more than anyone was doing a few years ago. So I think.
So that's what we'll do. So everybody can kind of agree. They're kind of reaching out and making a, you know, getting a voice. That's what the idea of this show is, to give people a voice. How many times do you wake up and say, geez, I wish I could be able to say this to our leaders? But anyways, I really look forward to advancing Rhode Island with all the people out there watching the show. I hope you've learned a little bit about the fact that young people do have a future in the state of Rhode Island, and we need to kind of really celebrate that. So thank you all for joining us.